All right, section 5.2, we're now going to introduce the concept of proportions. And a proportion is an equation stating two ratios are equivalent, and then the word proportional or when two quantities form a proportion. Basically, they're kind of one and the same here. But anyway, don't worry too much about the definition so much right now, other than just know this, that you'll have two ratios and they are the same thing. They're equal to one another. For instance, 2/3 here is equal to 4/6. We know that because if we wanted to, we could reduce 4/6 into a fraction to make the same thing as 2/3. These are proportional. And we oftentimes read it different ways, like I just read 2/3 is equal to 4/6, or we can read it as 2 is to 3 as 4 is to 6. This is not as common, but we can read it like that. All right, now there is one thing I do want you to kind of keep in your mind when writing proportions, and right now this doesn't make any sense, but it's going to make sense as we start solving proportional equations. What's on top stays on top. What's on bottom stays on bottom. So I've got a proportion hit here and I've set it up, and this is kind of a little rule that this is a Mr. Lewis rule to kind of keep your mind focused on where things should go when you go to set up proportions. But what's on top stays on top. What's on bottom stays on bottom. I know it doesn't make sense right now, but as we get deeper into this material, this will make sense. So let's go ahead and start talking about a few things. So in this first one, it tells me to tell whether the ratios form a proportion. The best thing for me to do is to take these ratios and just set them equal to one another. And what we're going to find out is we're going to find out if it is true. So if I took this and I just went and found out what this ratio is, 1 divided by 5, you're going to get the number 0.2. And if I plug in the next one, 5 divided by 15, you're going to get 0.3 infinity. Are these two things equal? No, they're not. So no, this is not a proportion. Let's look at the next one. I'm going to set these two ratios equal to one another, and then I'm going to simplify them. So 2/3, well, we know that to be 2/3. That's pretty easy. Or we could say 0.6 infinity, same thing, because we know that 2 divided by 3 is 0.6 infinity. Or, as we also know, just to kind of reiterate, it's 2/3. So what about 12 divided by 18? Well, let's find out. 12 divided by 18, let's see what it's equal to. It's equal to the same thing. So are these two proportional? Yes, they are, because they are literally the same fraction. They're literally the same ratio. Let's do one more, and then I'm gonna let the rest of them be yours. All right, so we have 15 to 2 is equal to 4 to 30. Does this make a proportion? Well, let's find out. 15 divided by 2 gives me 7.5. 4 divided by 30 gives me a weird number. Don't know what that is. Let's find out what fraction of that is to be more precise. Gives me, 2/15, or as a decimal, 0.13 infinity. Well, just by looking at it, are these two things the same? Absolutely not. They are not proportional because they are not the same number. So why don't you try 4 through 8 on your own? What you should have got was yes, 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 no, yes. All right, if you got any questions about that, let me know. And like I said, it's pretty easy just to plug them into and to see if whether they're the same thing or not. Basically, it should be reviewed kind of the same concept with fractions. It's basically similar fractions. All right, so now this one says, tell whether the two rates form a proportion. So 28 points in 3 games. I'm going to do this. 28 points in 3 games. Now, remember what I told you a while ago? What's on top stays on top. What's on bottom stays on bottom. We're going to do a proportion that looks like this. What's on top here? Points. So what has to be on top here is also points. but it's for the other rate. And then what's on bottom here? Games. So it must be games as well. So because what's on bottom stays on bottom. And in this case, it's going to be 12. Now that we know what these are, we basically are going to find our unit rate. We're just going to simply divide. 28 divided by 3 gives me 9.3 infinity. All right. And points per game. I'm too lazy to write all that out. Hey, what's 0.3 infinity again? 9 1/3. Okay, keep that in your mind. So let's find out what the unit rate on this guy is. 112 divided by 12. I get 9.3 infinity points per game. So are these two proportional? Yes, they are, because they are literally the same number when we point it out this way. Let's do 10 together. We have 32 notes in 4 measures. We need to, what's on top, notes, stays on top, what's on bottom, measures, stays on bottom, and now we can put our other numbers in, 12 and 2. So let's simplify this, find the actual unit rate. 32 divided by 4 gives me a unit rate of 8 notes per measure, is equal to 12 divided by 2 gives me 6 notes per measure. Are these the same unit rate? No, they're not. Therefore, they are not proportional. They are not proportional. They are not the same thing. Let's do 11. You can type 105 words in 2 minutes. So I'm going to write a rate here. 105 words in 2 minutes. Okay? Your friend can type 210 words in 4 minutes. So what's on top is words. What's on bottom is minutes. And we're writing a rate. 210 for 4. Are these proportional? So after we have found our rate, we're going to try to find our unit rate by plugging it into our calculator. 105 divided by 2 gives me 52.5 words per minute. There's my unit rate for this. And if these are indeed proportional, I should get the same unit rate. 210 divided by 4 gives me 52.5 words per minute. Are they the same unit rate? Yes, they are. So are these rates proportional? Yes, they are. So what's going on? You and your friend type at the same speed. Yes, because, and I'm not even going to write this out. Explain, yes, because you type at the same speed, 52.5 words per minute. All right, and that's it for this video. And as always, you know how to find me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Well, let's find out if they are the same unit rate. 105 divided by 2. You can type 52.5 words per minute. Again, I'm being lazy and just doing some simple, whatever the word is I'm looking for. What's that word called? I can't think. What is, okay, Mr. Lewis is really tired here. I cannot think of what it's called when you just put the first letter to a word to represent that word. What is that term called? Wow. I'll think of it near the end of the video. If not, I'll just leave this in here. All right, so after that,